Hello and welcome to my channel Making Money and Finance. I have a new video for you today. If you do not have an emergency fund yet, these are 5 reasons why an emergency fund is a must for you in 2022. Before I begin, I want you to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel so that you are the first to know when we upload a new video. And if you find our video useful, please share it with your friends and family. Emergencies are extremely stressful. In light of the state of the economy as it stands right now, it is imperative that you have some kind of savings set aside for unexpected expenses. This year, 2022, is the beginning of the brink of a recession, and I'm going to go over 5 different ways to build up your emergency fund as soon as possible. Because of the current state of the global economy, you need to have access to a fund for unexpected expenses as soon as possible. If you have not yet become entangled, you should give serious consideration to making this a top priority as much as it depends on you. The fact that having an emergency fund can provide you with a feeling of security is the primary justification for why you should have one. Emergencies are going to take place at some point. You want to feel a sense of serenity and peace regarding the money aspect of it so that you don't have to stress and worry about it and where you're going to find the money, how you're going to obtain the money, and how you're going to pay for whatever bill or reason may come up in the future. You are looking for that feeling of safety. You need to have that sense of serenity and tranquility regarding the financial aspect of it so that you can be completely prepared to deal with the next stage of the situation. The majority of unexpected events are high-pressure and tense occasions. Therefore, any time that you can lessen your anxiety and feel just a little bit better about having a security blanket and a secure peace of mind about the money portion of the emergency situation, it is going to actually help you a lot to deal with the emergency situation. The possibility of your employment being terminated is the second justification for maintaining a reserve of liquid assets. Whether it's your own employment or the job of your significant other, you need to make sure that you have money saved up so that even if you lose your job, you'll still be able to pay your bills. If you don't, you could find yourself in a difficult financial situation. You won't be unable to provide for the nutritional needs of your loved ones in any way. It is going to be impossible for you to fill up your gas tank. Therefore, having an emergency fund will make it much easier to deal with any type of job loss or reduction in income, making it much more bearable in the long run. The third and most obvious reason to establish an emergency fund is so that you can take care of any kind of unexpectedly huge bill that may crop up at any time. You have money in your account and in your emergency fund, so if your car breaks down and you need to replace the radiator or the transmission, for instance, you won't have to worry about how you'll pay for the bill because you'll already be prepared. I will argue that if something breaks in your house, whether it is your water tank or your furnace, you are prepared to meet that difficulty because you have that emergency fund. You already have that money available, so you won't have to worry about where it will come from if you need to make any unforeseen major expenditures. A medical bill that you could need to pay or have to deal with is another example of a significant expense that might be incurred. Because of this, having that money saved up in an account where it is ready to be withdrawn will make it much simpler to deal with the unexpected circumstance. One of the most compelling arguments is that it will help you avoid going into debt in the future. If you find yourself in a situation where you need to pay for an unexpected purchase with your credit card because you do not have a reserve fund from which to draw money, consider the following scenario. Now you are going to have debt from your credit card. Your interest is going to start to grow at this point. It is going to be more challenging to complete that payment. In addition to this, you will be required to continue making the monthly payment rather than paying the balance in full. Therefore, the best way to ensure that you stay out of debt is to make sure that you have a healthy emergency fund built up. The fifth benefit of having an emergency fund is that it allows you to deal with the day-to-day challenges you face with more space and some degree of freedom. Because you have money saved up in an emergency fund, you are able to make changes in your life, such as quitting a job, moving to a new location, or trying something new. This is because you have the financial flexibility to do so. Because of the emergency fund that you've been able to build up, you are now in a position where you are able to take your life in a new path, such as staying at home and being with your children. In addition to this, it enables a degree of versatility and simplifies the available choices. Additionally, it paves the way for a plethora of new possibilities. Now, I'm going to demonstrate to you and explain in detail how you may rapidly build up that money for unexpected expenses. Checking your bank account early on is the first step you should take in building up an emergency fund for yourself. If you currently have $1,000 in your checking account, you need to transfer that money out of your checking account and into a savings account. You should put it somewhere that it won't be affected by the way you typically spend your money. Therefore, if I don't see it, I won't remember it. You don't even bother to pretend as though you have that money at your disposal to spend. if I had $1,000 in my checking account, and I went in and saw that number, I would believe that I had additional money to go to Starbucks or to Target. But in reality, that money needs to be transferred to a different account as soon as possible. Therefore, it is secure, and you are not permitted to handle it unless there is an unexpected circumstance. Now this goes straight into my second approach to build up your emergency fund, which is to cut out Starbucks, cut out Target, cut out the random, eating out the random gas station charges, and cut out any other random expenses you can think of. All of those inconsequential expenditures need to be eliminated immediately. Over time, they really do add up to a significant amount. And all you need is as little as $10, or just a few dollars here and there that you can scrounge up from your spending plan, which you can then transfer into a separate account or put into a jar. Start putting some of that money away as soon as you possibly can. Make a meal plan instead of eating out, which will prevent you from incurring those unnecessary additional costs. This is one of the ways you may accomplish this. You'll find that it not only saves you time but also money, which means that you'll be able to put together your emergency fund much more rapidly. The next thing you can do to build up your emergency fund is to cancel any subscriptions you have, such as Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime. This will allow you to save more money. If you cancel your Amazon Prime membership, you will find that it is easier to avoid making sporadic purchases through Amazon. Therefore, there are a number of expenses that may be reduced, such as your subscription to the gym for a short period of time. Reduce your spending on it and put the savings into your emergency fund if the weather is nice enough that you can enjoy the outdoors. The fourth strategy for rapidly building up your emergency fund is to continue decreasing your monthly bills and other monthly expenses, as well as the amount of money you spend each month. So have a look at the utility bills for the past year. What are some ways that you can use less water? How can you make it a habit to make sure that the lights are turned off whenever you leave a room? Just keep in mind all that has been mentioned because it will come in handy later. In addition, there are simple adjustments to your day-to-day routines that you can make to facilitate the addition of additional funds to your personal bank account and the growth of your savings. Starting a side business is the next strategy you may implement to rapidly increase the size of your emergency fund. Therefore, if you've reached this point, you've probably cut as much as you possibly could. If there is no other way that you can save money around the house or stay within your budget, you will need to start looking into ways to increase your income. Therefore, you should get a secondary job. The first thing you should do is look around your home for things you haven't used in a while and make a list of them. Put them up for sale on Facebook Marketplace or eBay, and get the sales process started. You may also sign up for freelancing online, proofreading, or any other type of ability or quality that you already possess and that you are able to put to use in order to begin earning money with. You also have the option of opening a shop on Etsy, Zazzle, or Redbubble, all of which may be done at very little financial outlay on your part. If you are very creative, enjoy doing crafts, and like to make things, whether they are in digital or physical form, you can put them on a theme. This applies whether you manufacture the things physically or digitally. You now have the opportunity to start making some money. Therefore, after you have made every attempt to minimize costs and save money from your budget, it is imperative that you begin to boost your income and begin to build up that emergency fund by engaging in activities that you are capable of doing with your own set of skills. Putting together an emergency fund is actually a lot simpler than you imagine it would be if you just changed some of the habits you have around the house. Your savings account for your emergency fund ought to have a minimum balance of $1,000, and this account ought to be a savings account. The best way to determine how much money you ought to have stashed away in your own personal emergency fund is to have a look at your previous expenditures, specifically your monthly expenditures over the course of the most recent 3 to 5 months, and find the average of those amounts. If your regular monthly expenses come to about $5,000, and you want to save enough money to cover 6 months worth of spending, then you will need $30,000 saved up in your emergency fund to cover those bills. Therefore, you should review your own costs. In the end, it all comes down to what makes you the most at ease. The money that you have saved up in an emergency fund is going to be the source of the greatest amount of comfort for you and your loved ones in the event that one of you loses your job. Therefore, if you just have $1,000 in there, and your monthly expenses are $5,000, you won't get very far at all in the next 6 months with that amount of money. Therefore, you should discuss it in depth with your partner. I hope you got value out of this video. As always, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button with the bell to receive notifications, please share it with a friend, if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, see you in the next video.